The Normandy American Cemetery and Memorial is a World War II cemetery and memorial in Colleville-sur-Mer, Normandy, France, that honors American troops who died in Europe during World War II. History. On June 8, 1944, the U.S. First Army established the temporary cemetery, the first American cemetery on European soil in World War II. After the war, the present-day cemetery was established a short distance to the east of the original site. Like all other overseas American cemeteries in France for World War I and II, France has granted the United States a special, perpetual concession to the land occupied by the cemetery, free of any charge or any tax. This cemetery is managed by the American government, under congressional acts that provide yearly financial support for maintaining them, with most military and civil personnel employed abroad. The U.S. flag flies over these granted soils. Description: the cemetery is located on a bluff overlooking Omaha Beach and the English Channel. It covers 172 acres, and contains the remains of 9,387 American military dead, most of whom were killed during the invasion of Normandy and ensuing military operations in World War II. Included are graves of Army Air Corps shot down over France as early as 1942 and 3 American women. Only some of the soldiers who died overseas are buried in the overseas American military cemeteries. When it came time for a permanent burial, the next of kin eligible to make decisions were asked if they wanted their loved ones repatriated for permanent burial in the U.S. or interred at the closest overseas cemetery. Notable interments. Among the burials at the cemetery are 3 recipients of the Medal of Honor, including Theodore Roosevelt, Jr., son of President Theodore Roosevelt. After the creation of the cemetery, another son of President Roosevelt, Quentin, who had been killed in World War I, was exhumed and reburied next to his brother Theodore, Jr. Notable burials at the cemetery include Leslie J. McNair, U.S. Army General, one of the 2 highest-ranking Americans to be killed in action in World War II. Jimmy W. Monteith, Medal of Honor recipient. 2 of the Nyland brothers, Preston and Robert. Frank D. Peregrine, Medal of Honor recipient. Theodore Roosevelt, Jr., son of President Theodore Roosevelt, Medal of Honor recipient. Quentin Roosevelt, son of President Theodore Roosevelt, aviator killed in action in World War I. The memorial. The names of 1,557 Americans who lost their lives in the Normandy campaign but could not be located and/or identified are inscribed on the walls of a semicircular garden at the east side of the memorial. This part consists of a semicircular colonnade with a lodge at each end containing maps and narratives of the military operations. At the center is a 22-foot bronze statue entitled "The Spirit of American Youth Rising from the Waves." Facing west at the memorial, one sees in the foreground the reflecting pool, the mall with burial areas to either side and the circular chapel beyond. Behind the chapel are allegorical figures representing the United States and France. An orientation table overlooks the beach and depicts the landings at Normandy. The memorial faces the United States at its nearest point to the cemetery, a point between Eastport and Lubec, Maine. Time capsule. Embedded in the lawn directly opposite the entrance to the old visitors building is a time capsule which has been sealed and contains news reports of the June 6, 1944 Normandy landings. The capsule is covered by a pink granite slab upon which is engraved, "To be opened June 6, 2044. Affixed in the center of the slab is a bronze plaque adorned with the 5 stars of a General of the Army and engraved with the following inscription: "In memory of General Dwight D. Eisenhower and the forces under his command." This sealed capsule containing news reports of the June 6, 1944 Normandy landings is placed here by the newsmen who were here June 6, 1969. In popular culture, film in the horror film The Omen, the cemetery is used as a main photo poster with Damien standing next to the thousands of graves. In Saving Private Ryan, the cemetery is featured at the beginning and end, showing World War II veteran Private James Francis Ryan accompanied by his family. In the beginning of the film, he makes his way to the grave of Captain John Miller. At the end, Ryan salutes the grave and asks his wife if he lived a good life and was a good man. The Private Ryan story is based upon the story of the Nyland brothers, two of whom are buried in the cemetery. References are also made to the 5 Sullivan brothers, who were all killed in the Juno incident. Music Symphonic Prelude by Mark Camphouse portrays the battle in a way that battles are commonly depicted for bands. A slow introduction followed by a moderate tempo body and a majestic ending.